Hey, this is Greg Hague, and just had a question come in from one of our Maverick agents, and that was, what is the difference between the seller motivation story, the seller fight story, and the personal backstory? So I'd like to talk to you about that because each one is incredibly important and can move your needle big time in real estate. So first, the seller motivation story. Well, the seller motivation story is every time you list a home, one of the most critical things you can do is talk to the seller about their reason for selling, their motivation for selling. And you want to package that in such a way that you can push it out to other agents and buyers out there, because what do they all want? Real estate agents in the market, number one thing they want is a seller who's really motivated to sell so they can make a commission more easily and find a good value for their buyer. And of course, that's what buyers want as well. So one of the things that came up when I was answering that question with one of our agents is he said, well, but Greg, my sellers hesitate because you put this seller motivation story out and it's going to cause buyers to make a low ball offer. You don't want them to know that the seller is so motivated to sell the home and particularly make a big deal of it. And I said, no, it's actually just the opposite. Here's the way you do it to make it work. So I talked to the seller about the reason they're selling. Let's say they're moving out of town or they bought another home or whatever. Let's say they bought another home and they really want to sell. So there's real motivation there. So I get that out and I call other agents and I say, oh gosh, and this is, pre-MLS, pre-sign, you know how I am about this. So this is home that they don't even know is on the market. And so I say, oh, I've got this amazing listing. You're not going to believe it. No sign, not in MLS. And the seller, it's priced so right. The seller is unbelievably motivated. They found another home they want so bad and they're afraid they're going to lose it. And so they want to sell this home right away. And now listen to what I say. Now, I say, and that's why it's priced so aggressively. That's why the list price is so amazing. So you see, what I'm doing is reinforcing the list price. I'm not saying, hey, you can buy it at anything, disregard the list price, make a lowball offer. No. I'm saying that's why I got such an amazing list price. So you understand, nobody's seen the home. If they get over there and they think, gosh, it's maybe not as good a deal as we thought, at least you got them over there and you get them excited and get them interested and get an offer. The idea is to do your job for the seller. And what is that? Getting showings and doing it in such a way that you're reinforcing that the only reason this list price is so good, so aggressive is why? Because the sellers are so motivated. So that's the seller motivation story. Never take a listing and not work with the sellers to carve out a true but compelling seller motivation story. Now, the next story is the seller fight story. That's very different. Typical example on a seller fight story would be you receive an offer from a buyer, let's say through another agent, and you decide with the seller that you're going to counteroffer it, and you figure out what that counteroffer amount should be. And then what you do is when you present that counteroffer back to the other agent, you give that to the other agent, you tell them this unbelievable fight story about how the seller beat you up and bloody, and when you took the offer over there, they looked at this ridiculous low offer and they threw it in your face and said, are you kidding me? Get out of here, and about kicked you out, and you got bloody fighting for 15 hours to get the seller to come up with this unbelievably low, ridiculous, aggressive counteroffer, and you tell the agent, and believe me, I mean, this is the bargain of the century, and don't even think about coming back with 1 penny less. Now, I know I exaggerated a bit here, but the point is that when you go back to a buyer with a counteroffer from the seller, you want to make a big deal about how hard you fought to get this unbelievable price on the counteroffer, because it's your job to do everything you can within the bounds of ethics and honesty, because you really are going to work hard with the seller. You're just going to make a big deal of it to do what? To get that buyer not to come back with another counteroffer, but to reach down and sign on the dotted line. And the seller fight story is a big factor, will be a big factor in doing that. So that's that. And then the third thing is what we call the backstory, your personal backstory. Well, that's a whole different thing. Personal backstory is you have a listing appointment, you go over and you do the walkthrough and you do all the things that I teach in the perfect listing presentation. You have your own personal brochure pre-delivered with recommendations, a nice gift. You do a really extensive walkthrough so that the sellers feel like you're not there to interview for the listing, but you're taking extensive notes. You're preparing to sell the home. And then it comes time after the walkthrough to do what? Sit down and talk with the seller about officially, your listing presentation, your process, your unbelievable process for selling their home. Well, you want to start with your backstory. And what I mean by that is you want to start by telling the seller why you're in real estate, how you got to where you are, and why you're doing what you're doing other than to earn a commission check. You want them to see that real estate, representing them, helping them achieve an amazing result, means a lot more to you than just a commission check. And so that's what this personal backstory is all about. So I hope that helped. And if you have any other questions, just, hey, give us a call at 480-998-9900 or send us an email over at Real Estate Mavericks. We are here to serve. We are here to help. We are here to help you dominate your listing market. Once again, Greg Hague, thanks for listening.